What up there, people? I am back again for my third review this week. We're gonna start the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Just moving something. We're about to start the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Then tomorrow, I will either do my ranking or we'll do part 8, and then vice versa. So those will interchange depending on what I'm in the mood for tomorrow. I'm more than likely gonna do the ranking just so I can do one like non-horror video. Then Friday we'll get back to part 8 and yeah. But we're gonna start on Nightmare on Elm Street. This is a franchise I got into a lot later. I had seen this one because we were reviewing the first one years ago as a kid. It did creep me out, but then the more I got into horror, I was more into Michael and Jason. And I still am. I like Freddy. I respect the concept, but I think the problem is, and I'm definitely gonna dive more into this when I get to the sequels. Freddy stops being scary. He becomes kind of a joke. But these first three, and definitely the first two, I get it. A lot of people don't like two, and when I get to that one, I'm unpopular opinion. I like that one, but this one, Freddy is fucking creepy. This was, in my opinion, Wes Craven's masterpiece, next to Scream. Oh no, this then Scream, but man, this film did change the horror genre because up until now we had Michael and Jason, and then like some, you know, non Michael Jason films, but a lot of them were just about a dude with a knife killing people. But this one was different because it was in your dreams. If I remember right, Wes got the idea because of he talked to like a kid with like a bunch of nightmares, or is either he talked to a kid or he heard about a story of a kid dying in his dreams, and that's basically where the idea comes from. And a lot of things in the original, Wes Craven wanted to make Freddy a pedophile, like besides just being a child killer, but they cut that because at the time it was to do with because there was a lot of like stories about teachers sleeping with students at the time, and it just Wes said he didn't want to exploit it. But there's little stuff there, but overall, man, this film is a classic. In my opinion, is my second favorite, like as a film, second favorite slasher film. Number one is Halloween, but this one, the acting in it, the performance by Robert Englund, the directing, I think this film has an underrated kind of score when we talk horror themes because we always talk Michaels, even Jason's, but yeah. So this film starts off. We see the cue the badass music. We see Freddy building his claws, and then we have a little bit of a time jump. So I'm just gonna give a quick origin story on Freddy. Freddy was a child killer who got off when he was caught killing children because of like a loophole. Parents of Elm Street turned on him, went to his boiler room, burned it down with him in it, and he basically got revenge. So we meet Tina Gray, who quick little dream scene. She's being stalked through her boiler room. We see a very quick shot of Freddy, just like mainly his gloves. You don't really see his face. She wakes up. Her mom just kind of scoffs at her, but then she notices that her shirt's been like has a claw mark on it. Then the next morning, we meet Nancy Thompson and her boyfriend Glenn, played by a young Johnny Depp. So you have a young Johnny Depp in this movie. Nancy Thompson's a great character, as I mentioned in my top final girls. But we also meet Tina's boyfriend Rod, who they get into it. They go to school. Then now they're off. They're back at Tina's house because Tina's been having nightmares, and she basically has the house to herself. So she asks her friends to stay over. So they sleep over. Rod comes over. Basically, Tina and Rod have sex. And Rod talks about also having nightmares. They go to bed. And this is where we get, basically, in my opinion, one of the most iconic kills in not just in this franchise, but in this movie, because now we get to finally see Freddy in action. So she wakes up, and this is where we see Freddy in full on form. One of my favorite scenes where he just slices his fingers and they just grow back. basically he tackles Tina, but then ends up bringing him in the real world. Um, Kills her and drags her up the on the roof, slices at her, and Rod sees it, but he doesn't know what's going on, and Rod has to flee because people think he did it. Tina dies. This is where we meet her dad, played by what's the guy's name? It'll come to me, but yeah, this actor is pretty good. But yeah, he plays a really good detective. We meet her dad, Don, at the police station. You know, he admonishes her, but then I think Nancy, you know, that performance here from God, can't think of her name right now. Sorry, but so the next day, Rod tries to, you know, like convince, tries to convince, you know, sorry, he tries to convince Nancy that he didn't do it, but gets arrested. Her dad basically says, "Why are you going to school?" I kind of find this scene funny. Just a parent saying, "Why are you going to school?" But whatever. Nancy then is seen in class, ends up falling asleep. Is in another really good scene. Just the she follows the blood trail and she runs into the school monitor. Turns out it's Freddy, and like her hall sweater and changes into Freddy's iconic sweater. Just the like the dream scenes in in this movie. It's not over the top like in the later sequels. They're just very it fucks with you mentally. This film is great in my opinion. It is great. Um, then she ends up in a boiler room. Basically, he chases her and then she burns her own arm. Pretty good scene, like burns her own arm and wakes herself up, leaves class, and Nancy ends up falling asleep in the bathtub. And this is where you get the iconic scene of Freddy kind of coming out of the bathtub, trying to drown her, but she ends up saving herself before she wakes up. And then she goes to see Rod, and Rod describes Freddy to a T to her. And yeah, that she's starting to realize they're all having the same dream. I think the performances in this movie are pretty good. Like they all like do a pretty good job here. And Robert England in this movie is man. Uh, Heather Langenkamp. I'm stupid. Yeah, Heather Langenkamp. In I don't know if this is like one of her earlier movies, um, but she was pretty good in this, and we see her growth in the third film. But so she realizes that her and Rod are starting to have. She realizes it wasn't Rod who killed her, and next, I don't know if it's the next or it's an hour later. Nancy has Glenn come over, basically tells him that she needs to watch her sleep because she wants to find Freddy and see if she can like. So she goes to the dream. She's now having a dream, and she's seeing Freddy basically try to kill Rod. Then Freddy tries to get to her. She ends up waking up, but then um, they wake up. He hides because I think her mom hears her screaming. And then now they run to the police station because they know, okay, Rod's about to die. And while Rod's death is pretty, a lot of the deaths so far, they try to make it look like Freddy made it look like Rod killed Tina. So with this, he basically grabs a sheet that Rod was sleeping on and makes like a noose and basically chokes him. And he kills him. And Nancy and Glenn tried to stop it, and the police come in, but it was like by the time they came in, he was already dead. Then we have a funeral. They starting to become worried about Nancy. Then they tell him, and then you have this pretty cool scene, like her describing Freddy to her parents, and like the face they make, it's like they know who he is. It just, you get these little clues. They don't tell you right away about Freddy's origin. You don't find it out until a little bit later. But I just like, fuck, I'll just describe it. And then they take her to Marge, Nancy's mom, takes her to a clinic, and she ends up having a dream again. But then she ends up taking Freddy's hat with her in reality, and it has his name on it, and she has like a gash on her arm. So, oh, the next day, this is the morning. Nancy basically and her mom get into an argument, and Nancy basically, she's starting to realize her mom knows who it is, and and she says his name, Fred Krueger. So basically, the first time I think in this film, Freddy's name is spoken. Um, but then her mom slaps her and is like, "He's dead." And then Nancy, because her mom's been basically has drinking issues. So I like that little thing too. They tackle basically alcoholism, little bits there. She Nancy throws the bottle after she smacks her and then goes to school. Her and Glenn have a discussion because she's like reading like some kind of book about the occults or whatever. And then Marge bars the windows so Glenn basically can't come over. And then this is where we learn of Freddy's origin. She tells her about Freddy's origin, and basically Glenn and her have a discussion really quick, and he basically wants her to help. She wants him to help her, and because she realized because she bought Freddy's hat to the real world. She wants to bring Freddy to the real world and basically try to kill him. She sets up little booby traps. I wonder if Home Alone got a little bit like at least the part with the traps. I wonder if they got their ideas from this film. Glenn's parents basically stop the two from talking, and Nancy tries to call him one more time, but they basically take the phone off the hook, so we'll just keep ringing. So Glenn ends up falling asleep, and Freddy drags him into the bed, and a bunch of blood just starts coming out. Really good scene. And then his mom comes in. Then the police show up, and Don, her dad, talks to her and basically tells her what happened, and then she tells him about his plan, and then just give her a few minutes, and then she sets up the traps again, and then basically she locates Freddy. She ends up bringing him in the real world. He chases her around the house, and the traps work. Like, I think she rigged one of the lights with gunpowder. She put like a hammer on like a door, like if you open it, it would hit him. And then she ends up setting Freddy on fire. And then her dad comes over, and then basically Freddy disappears. They find in the bedroom, they see her and Dawn end up seeing Freddy basically burning Freddy's Marge, and then he puts out the fire, and then Marge and Freddy disappear. They hug for a second. He walks out, and this is where basically Freddy comes back, and then this is where she realizes, you know what, you're powered by fear. So basically, calls him shit, and yeah, reducing him to nothing. And then the next day, basically everyone survives. We don't know if this is another dream sequence or not. I think it was supposed to be left kind of vague. Like, her mom is back, Glenn and all her friends, or picking her up, but then the car locks itself, and then the hood comes on, and it's in the form of Freddy's sweater, and then Freddy drags Marge in through the door. That, I will admit, the scene looked pretty bad. Like, you could tell Marge was a. Apparently, I think Bob Shea wanted this in because it was basically supposed to set up a sequel. This was supposed to be leave it open for a sequel, but like I feel like Wes was like, you could have just ended it. It just I think he wanted to end it. He didn't want like the cheesy Freddy arm grabbing because I think it would have gotten a sequel either way. But whatever, it's a minor thing. I love this film. Yeah, this film kill wise, I think Tina's is probably my favorite. Then it's Glenn's. Glenn's is just the iconic of the scene of the blood coming out. And this, obviously, I'm more of a Michael and Jason guy. But I think Freddy, the whole concept, because it is a scary concept, because at the end of the day, you need to sleep. You gotta sleep at some point, you know? And I actually think the acting in this good. John Saxton, that's who I was thinking of, is who plays her dad. He is fucking good in this. I think he plays a really good, like, sheriff, and he clearly cares about his daughter. It's just, he didn't know what to do. And I thought the mom was pretty okay. Like, she wasn't great or anything, but I thought her whole dynamic was pretty good, you know. Um, Obviously, I think MVP of the film is Robert Englund. He wasn't too jokey. Also, Freddy didn't have his, like, deep voice yet. He had more of, like, a, like, more of, like, that kind of, like, he didn't have, like, the deep voice we would know until, I think, like, 2 or 3. But I do love this film, and this film, in my opinion, this is one of the rare times, especially for horror. I would give this like a flat out 10. The score, the performances, the the eerie feel to it. I love the way it's shot. I actually love the way the dream scenes are done in this. It's not too like, like because in some of the sequels they get a little ridiculous. I mean, to be fair, 2 and 3, I don't think they go too bad. It's more like 4 and on. The dream scenes become kind of, it almost becomes like a psychedelic trip. Whereas I feel like the dream scenes in this one, it almost feels reality. It's on the cusp of being reality, you know? And honestly, like, I could watch this film every time. This is another one, like, I think it's on par with Halloween. Halloween is still, to me, the greatest, but this one is on par. And in my opinion, it did revolutionize the horror genre, the slasher genre specifically. Um, I just there's not enough words I could say about this film. Nancy's a great character. She starts off kind of. That's one thing just a little side tangent. I like about like the horror girls, as I call them. I know they're called final girls, but these what make it just they're all most of the time they're just girls in high school who are just living their life. She's just a normal girl, has a boyfriend, you know, has a normal life, and then this happens. It's the same thing with the characters like Laurie and Sydney. Like they have to, and they grow. There's actual growth through their character. She's not a Mary Sue. She's not an instant know-it-all. She's not afraid to not show emotion when she's being scared. Like she's a character. In my opinion, one of my favorite. I think she's like 3. I think if I remember right, I ranked her 2 or 3. In my no, I think I may have ranked her 2 because I'm as much as I love Laurie Strode, I think her character is so good. But yeah, and as much as I wish we got to see her in the second one, but whatever. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna take one more hit, and I'll play us out. So my next video will be me kind of taking a little break from the horror stuff for a second, and I'm gonna I'm gonna rank the Jurassic films, so I can kind of just finish off the Jurassic stuff finally, and then like I said, Thursday, we'll end up, no, yeah, it'll be Friday. I'm fucking high, sorry. On Friday, yeah, we'll do Friday Part 8. But other than that, guys, I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.